Hello everybody and welcome back to the new player guide for multiplayer. I'm No02. This map we're going to be covering the economy. And not just necessarily the resource nodes, but as well as economy when it comes to dealing damage to your opponent and not taking damage in return and things like that. In addition to potentially when to upgrade, how to upgrade, and paying attention to your oil as far as the first 6 minutes go and your tech tree. So you're going to be playing Polonia. We don't care about the reserves. Reserves are not going to be relevant. We'll talk about the reserves later. Everything I'm going to talk about applies to all of the factions, not just Polonia. So if you watch the first video, which is super quick, but super fundamental, the first 3 minutes of what we're going to do all the time, we're doing the 2x1 iron.
Command established. Orders for us? Got it. What is it? We'll do it.
You have orders?
2x1 iron. Right? And this is the grenade cache. So the engineer gets the oil pump and then the grenade cache.
Yes. Got it. New orders for us?
2 riflemen
Fine.
get the
What can we do? Meet right here.
iron mines.
Engineers assembly.
We get our engineer right on time, about 27 seconds into the match. 26, 27, 28. That's all acceptable times to get your first engineer.
Meet right here.
What's the plan?
It's important to note just some quick facts. These resources generate every 5 seconds.
This pump
Every
is
5
ready
seconds,
to serve
these
Polania.
green numbers are added to your iron and oil reserves.
Yeah.
You have orders?
Learn the hotkey for your upgrades.
More
Now, obviously,
sandbags
upgrading
to
earlier
just like
is
throwing a stick
going to
for
result
the
in more
dog.
economy later. Slowly over
You
time.
name it, we'll build it.
But when it comes to the first 6 minutes of the match, everything is based off of your oil. Oil is your tech resource, right? It's your gas
Need something done?
equivalent in, like StarCraft and things like that, or your wood equivalent in Warcraft 3.
You have orders?
So everything is about waiting on these timings. Now, obviously, we're not moving
Yes.
our units because we're not here to show or represent a build. We're just waiting for the
You name
timings.
it,
So no
we'll
matter what
build
you're
it.
doing, right?
What
You're
is
running
it?
around,
Get to cover.
you're doing
Standing
doing
by.
stuff, you're
On the
microing,
way.
Yes.
you're getting
Leading
sweaty.
the way.
More sandbag? Let's get to
Regardless of
work.
what you're doing, you're always waiting for the next timing for your oil. So whether it's workshop first or barracks, as soon as you get your oil for the first building you need,
What's
you
the
want to build
plan
it as
then?
soon as possible. Get that as nice and crisp. And it's less about looking over here on your timer and more
What is
about
it? Follow us.
just watching your oil count up. So as you're
New orders
microing
for us?
in the beginning of the game, you should be looking at your oil. Just
Building
panning at it.
finished.
You know, look at
Yes.
micro.
Let's go.
Micro, oil, minimap, micro, oil, minimap,
Follow
etc.
us.
You name it, we'll
Barracks is
build
done,
it.
we go
Right,
get
we're
something
on it.
useful with the engineers, whether it's capping
Building.
something or getting a flamethrower,
New
etc.
orders for us?
Now, when you upgrade things, will depend on your build. That will depend on what your build is, what your goals are at the start of the game, and we'll cover that in a different video. But
Ready
just
action.
for
Right away.
What is it? Sounds good. The
for
more, the
educational
better.
purposes here, how many things do you upgrade, right? On a map like Oil Spill or Border River, or on maps when you're playing Drop Zone, and there's extra resource nodes, the question is, well, how many things do I upgrade?
Oil for the Republic.
Can I upgrade 2 oil and then 1 iron? Does that work? Does that give me... Because we want our resources to be as even as possible. And in this game, it's even is not like we want exactly 100, 1-to-1 ratio. Iron will always be higher than your oil, but we want our oil to sort of always be dropping to 0. We don't really want our iron ever to drop to 0. Being iron starved is worse than oil starved. Because at the very least you can build gunners and field cannons and things like that, right? But oil is the key to all of our big mechs. So the appropriate ratio for all of your resources is
Extraction is ongoing. Yes.
2 iron upgrades,
As expected.
1 oil upgrade.
Hi ho.
So yeah, 2 iron upgrades, 1 oil upgrade. And this is why it's so essential to get double iron oil openings, because it's by far the most balanced economically for whatever you're doing, whether it's barracks or workshop. Doing this will give you plenty of resources in the long run. And for some of the maps, you really can't get more economy than that. Because if we upgrade a second oil pump, we're going to be floating oil eventually. We'll have too much oil and not enough iron to spend it in this scenario. But there is a variation. For instance, here we have an extra iron mine here. Now, if we're confident in ourselves, right? This is a contested iron mine. It's in the middle of the map, semi-equidistant from our bases, so defending it is potentially harder. But, right, because we have our 1-2 iron, right? 1 pump, 2 iron. Let me say that again. We have our 2-1 iron. 2 iron, 1 oil. 2-1 iron. But we want more economy. We upgrade a 3rd iron mine. We're now going to have way too much iron for our oil.
Keep it flowing.
We have lots of iron here because we're not attacking or building infantry, which you normally would.
We're taking fire.
We've lost a squad.
If you can secure a 3rd iron mine and have it upgraded and keep it on your side,
Keep it flowing.
you can justify
We're under fire.
a second oil pump upgrade. And for the most part, that ends up being the maximum amount of economy that you can reliably have, or like balanced wise have. Of course, capturing more is always fine. If you can capture something, you should always do it.
We've lost a squad.
But when it comes to the things that you have control over,
Building upgrade complete. Enemy unit spotted.
2 iron, 1 oil. That's going to be the fundamental upgrades that you'll get pretty much every match. Eventually. When you get them will depend on your build. The only other variation is you get a 3rd iron upgrade, allowing you to get a 2nd oil pump upgrade, going 3 iron, 2 oil.
Multiple
And that'll allow you to keep a
We'll be there in
balanced
no time.
economy
Since
as
last
well.
month,
Don't mind if we do. That will give us cover.
Dealing damage to your opponent's economy, we'll talk about this a little more in detail in the combat section of my videos.
What is
But
it?
when it comes to economy, right, you want to protect yours and deal damage to your opponents. And in this game,
New orders for us?
just about everything you do does damage to their economy, right? If a unit is killed or hurt, they have to retreat and replenish, restoring their models, restoring the health on the models. That all costs resources.
New orders for us?
So getting into a fight
Follow us.
and trading damage favorably, for instance, you deal more damage than they do to you, and then you get
Looks
out
like
for
a good
free,
spot.
that costs them money. You can also just capture their resources or have more resources than them to get ahead economy-wise. And of course, you can get ahead upgrade-wise. But by far, the most impactful thing that you can do to get ahead of your opponent economically
What is it?
is going to be hurting their units. To be dealing more damage to them than they are to you,
Yes?
unit-wise. And of course, killing a unit is always most ideal.
Yeah?
But sometimes maiming a unit, leaving one model alive, and then having them run it back,
What is it?
and having to full heal it, that also hurts their economy as well.
New orders for
So
us?
for instance, if I was capturing their oil
Got
pump
it.
or their iron mine,
Fine.
and they show up and start shooting my guys capturing it, even if I can stick it and fully
Multiple
flip
enemies spotted.
this mine,
What is it?
and I
Sounds
might
good.
think to myself, haha, yes, I flipped their iron mine, I hurt their economy.
Yeah?
But they're doing free damage to me. That also hurts your economy, right? So you hurt their economy, and they hurt yours.
Yes?
What's worse? Flipping an iron mine, or getting a squad down to half health? By far the damage to a squad is more
Yeah.
significant than flipping somebody's mine for 5-10 seconds. Not super relevant. So damage to unit is the most
Uh-huh. Follow us.
consequential thing you can do to someone's
That will
economy.
give us cover.
Of course, if you can capture or flip something for free, or with minimal damage, by far do it. So you can be pesky and annoying.
Yeah?
But ideally, or on the flip side, if somebody's capturing your stuff and you're getting to shoot him while he captures it, just tell him thank you in the chat. We love shooting things that are capturing stuff, because that's all free damage. And even if they might flip your resource to neutral, and as soon as they flip it to neutral, they have to retreat back home because they lost 2 models. You won that exchange.
New orders for us?
Because doing damage units is more viable. So again, so that's about it for this
Yes.
quick economy.
Hi-ho!
When to upgrade, we'll talk about later. But 2 iron, 1 oil
Keep it flowing.
is the standard set of upgrades. If you can confidently secure a third iron mine, upgrade it.
Operating.
You can then justify having a second oil pump upgrade, and that'll give you tons of economy to play with. And to hurt your opponent's economy the most, you can deal damage to their units and deal more damage than you're receiving. You can steal and flip things, or you can upgrade. And it sort of goes in that tier. And we'll talk about that later on with goals as well. Because you're always going to be,
We've
if
got
you're
company!
struggling with what do I do on the map, you can always think damage, steal, or upgrade.
We're under fire!
Multi-
Yes!
And that's about it for the economy section. Thank you guys.